know you're passionate about building high-powered teams. So if you think about kind of where you're at with kind of Wyebot, scaling from the 5 to the kind of 25, whatever that you have in kind of sales, what are things that you think about to make sure that they're you're bringing in top talent and then creating them as a high-powered team?
Yeah, I have found I've built, like I said, multiple businesses, scaled multiple businesses very successfully. And what really makes that tick and what's rewarding is this high-powered team. And what that means is everybody going the same direction, but people helping each other out, right? Everybody has their primary responsibility. And of course, in startup world or smaller companies, it tends to be a lot, right? And yes, people are working hard and extra hours and nights and weekends. But in addition to that, everybody's going to need to help out with something else, right? It's just the nature of the business. A big opportunity comes up and everybody's got to respond to an RFP, right? Or you're shipping an order, and there's a lot of different factors that come into play. So I've learned over the years that if you can get everybody just really focused on the strategic direction of the company and how to make that successful, it's self-fulfilling because people then are part of it. And after a year or two of being with a company, they see that they're growing both professionally and they're seeing the company grow and they're making a difference in the industry. And so I've always spent a lot of time focused on building high-powered teams. And that means listening, right? Listening to your employees. They're all doing the critical components of the company. I mean, I'm the CEO, but they run the company. I mean, everything we do, from the operations side to the sales side to the development side. And so listen, because they're going to have great ideas on how to solve the next challenge in scaling, right? Who to hire, right? They'll have contacts in the industry, and the best, hires are references in most cases, right? And over half, I think, of the folks that we've hired in sales in the last 18 months came from internal referrals. So it's building this culture of wanting to do something special, right? Doing something to help the industry and doing something that's very hard that other companies aren't doing, but is rewarding personally. And you look back in 5 years and it's a crazy fun time, right? You have the stories, but the successes along the way.
That's great. And then certainly bringing in top talent. You've got a great culture, growing company. Yeah, everybody kind of should always want to. But anything else that you would add on to what you already said around the topic of retention in this competitive market?
Yeah, I think, during the recruitment process, selection, you got to be selective, right? Sometimes companies get so excited because they need hires, they want to move quick. And I understand that. We all go through that. But you've got to be selective. You got to find individuals that can fit the culture that you've created, whatever that culture is. And companies can be very different, but you want to try to find that fit. That's what's most important. You can have excellent talent on somebody, but if he or she, if they're not going to be an excellent fit for whatever it is, then that might not be the right resource. Okay, but finding the fit is critical. And then once they're on board, challenge, right? Most folks like to be challenged. They like to be contributing to the success. And so you have to, yes, all your managers have to focus on that. It has to be a core, criteria of the company where you're driving, pushing them, but at the same time, allowing them to grow both personally and, again, in sales from a commission point of view. And if they do that, then they'll likely stay for a long period of time.
Any example maybe from your past of kind of a bad fit and why that you maybe learned from?
Yeah, we've had, just even at Wyebot, right? I mean, we try to be relentless and go through a rigorous process, but, we've had one or two where they weren't completely cut out for the pace that we're going, right? For the dynamic nature that we're going through, the technology evolution. And so they came from larger organizations where you do have more infrastructure around you, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. They have infrastructure and support. But when you're at Wyebot, like I said, we're moving fast and there's constant changes. And so, yeah, we've had one or two over the years, not surprised, right? Where they weren't as comfortable with the changes in the pace that we're moving at, right? And so, yeah, they're not the ideal fit for where we're going as a company.
Well, and then certainly, communicating, especially in these times where people aren't necessarily as kind of office centric and everything else. What are some things that you've done communication wise?
Yeah. So, I mean, video collaboration is a pro and a con, right? I mean, it's, we love it because it's come a long ways. This type of technology that we're using today, I mean, if you go back 5, 10 years, it was a lot more challenging. So that has obviously made a big difference. At the same time, you can't just rely on that. It's tendency is you can, right? Oh, just get on another video call. But, a lot of individuals are, tired of video calls, right? At some point in time, right? They only can take so many. So we have a number of remote employees. We support remote employees. It can be very effective. We bring everybody in a couple times a year, right? We bring everybody in to our headquarters, both for business, strategy, planning, and stuff like that, and some fun, right? Doing activities all together as a team. So in addition to, yes, the constant communication with video collaboration and stuff like that, even though we're going at a fast and hard pace and expect a lot of our employees, at the same time, look, we want to enjoy the journey, right? So twice a year, that's the frequency we've chosen right now. Maybe it'll be more or less in the future, but we do twice a year, get everybody together. And then we also, try to do local events. Obviously, some of the remote folks can't participate in all those, but we'll do family barbecues and stuff like that.
Awesome. What other type of events have you done bringing people together?
Yeah, so we've done, apple picking and
Ah,
escape the room, the escape the room puzzles where we have sales challenging engineering. Randy, you would like that. That's a really good one, right? You put the engineering team against the sales team and throw them into the escape the rooms,
I mean,
golf.
the engineering teams must win.
Well, I'll tell you, it's closer than you would think. I mean, it's just it's fascinating when you set those teams up. But golf, we just do a
Yeah.
variety of. We try to change it up each time, right? And just get everybody together, do some team building, but get outside of the work environment where you get to
Yeah.
know people. And in sales, I mean, you can appreciate this. It's very similar to your customers, right? The goal with your customers and building relationship is getting to know them, right? And what are their personal interests and what do they like to do? And that way you can just have a conversation and not always be work related, which is important, obviously, but you've got to branch out a little bit, especially in this crazy world we've been in the last 2.5 years with COVID and people, unfortunately, a lot of them, at home for most of the time and not getting out. So we try to break that up a little bit and have some fun along the way.
That's great. I do a post on LinkedIn each week, which is old school, but yeah, I'll usually get in debates with people about I'm again old school, but doing face-to-face sales calls versus these Zooms, and I think one of the downfalls of COVID is having a lot of sales teams, lack of better words, because of this, get lazy and not have that kind of urgency and desire to get their butts on the road, whether it's a car or plane, and have those face-to-face relationships and those face-to-face meetings. Yeah, it's not just for the work, but as you said, to build a relationship around kind of some of those non-work areas, right?
Yeah, grab a dinner, round of golf, whatever makes sense, right? And everybody is interested in having partnerships, and that's important, obviously. But getting to know, like you said, folks, and over at dinner can be awesome, right? Where you just unwind a little bit and have those conversations. So I totally agree with you. We go to a lot of technology conferences. And one of the reasons why we do that is, yes, I want the sales team, I want the executive team to get out there, right? Talk to the customers, meet the customers, just to see what, their experience is, both work and non-work related.
Yeah, that's great. What about kind of changing topic a little bit here is if you think about your past kind of sales leaders that you respect and why?
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting ones that folks may or may not know. But they both were CEOs, but they came from a sales background. John Chambers at Cisco.
Yep.
And Randy, John Chambers, right? But he was very, very well known and respected in the industry with his sales expertise and his support of the sales organization. And I competed with Cisco for a good portion of my career, but did respected. The company was, a strong company, and John Chambers was a great leader, and he really set a very high standard for those that know him, worked with him, in terms of the sales culture and how to take care of your customers and listen to the customers. So John Chambers was one coming up through the networking career that I did over the last 30 years. He was one that had a lot of respect for, even though I didn't work for him, but I learned a lot competing against him. So you can learn a lot from your competitors. Another one, AJ, that's his name, and so it's going to sound interesting, AJ, but he was the CEO of Acton Technology. Now, Acton's a leading supplier of technology in Taiwan to a lot of the companies in the U.S. Cisco, Dell, HP, they're all getting technology from Acton. And so they're, $1 billion+ business, very successful. And he was incredible. I worked for him. I ran their U.S. operations for Acton for 3 years here when I built up their wireless business, the Wi-Fi business. And he was same thing, the culture and what he expected and how you take care of your customers and like you said, meet with the customers and go out to dinner and really get to know them to build a long-term partnership. And folks on my team here at Wyebot and even before, they'll hear me, I'll use that word a lot, Randy, and maybe too much, but I'll use the word partnership because every customer to Wyebot, I want to be a partnership. We're not looking just to quickly sell some solution. I don't like that model. We're here to help them and build a long-term partnership. So AJ, CEO of Acton, John Chambers, CEO of Cisco, were just two pioneers in the industry in the technology networking space that set a very high standard and culture, and I learned a lot from both of them. One I worked for and the other we competed against.
Yeah, we had on a few weeks ago Frank Palumbo, who was a longtime Cisco exec in CRO Pensando, who recently got sold to AMD, I believe it was, and Chambers was a big investor, and he's got all kinds of stories. Obviously, he's very hands-on at Cisco, but kind of just really hands-on, just helping sales calls, relationships. And one of the takeaways I've gotten from John over the years is he's amazing. If you've seen him present, he'll kind of walk around with the crowd. So if you're in the crowd, you're paying attention because he could be cold calling me any second. It's a kind of trick I learned from him. To see him work the room, it's just just amazing, and obviously so many great attributes. And
incredible.
Don't know AJ. So if you put your kind of sales hat on here, what do you think about kind of sales? Any kind of predictions that you might make? How you see things evolving?
Yeah, one thing that's really changed, and you touched on it just a minute ago, that we all have to deal with, right? When I say deal with, we have to manage it and figure out how to optimize it. And that is, there used to be a lot of face-to-face relationships, right? Like you said, meeting customers, flying out to a customer and having dinner and meeting the leadership team in person. And COVID, of course, understandably, stopped almost all of that, right, for the most part. And so what's happened is a lot of that has not come back. And you were talking about that because people are so comfortable and used to Zoom and it's convenient. I just pop it up and I go. And so I think the key thing here for not only Wyebot, but for CEOs and sales leaders around the globe is the balance, right? Now, how do we balance the leveraging the technology, right? Because, of course, if you're always traveling continuously, right, there's a lot of time spent on that, right? The travel time, the expense associated with it. So there's a balance here where I don't think it makes sense to be traveling everywhere all the time, but also relying on video conferencing all the time is not the right solution either. So I think Randy coming up with playbooks and strategies and solving this balance of leveraging the technology to optimize, but at the same time, not using it as a crutch where that's the only way to go and you're not building some of the core partnerships that you need to be highly successful.
Yeah, great. Very, very well said. So maybe why don't we end it on that note? So it's been fantastic having Roger Sands, CEO of Wyebot on, sponsored to you, or it's brought to you by us, and always sales community. Tucker, maybe you want to pull up our link. But if you go to the salescommunity.com site, we have a free year special going. You can see it says summer free. And next week, we're going to be episode 91. Chris Bowen, who is CRO of Hammerspace, and his topic is going to be building a startup sales org. So always will be a great topic, and Tucker just put that on there. So thanks, Tucker. So everybody, hope you have a great day, great week. Feel free to spread the word on this great podcast with Roger. So thanks, Roger.
Randy, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be on it. I wanted to echo, your whole forum here, the sales community. It's an excellent resource. So for those that may be new to it, I encourage you to check it out. Get in touch with Randy and the team. There's a lot of great services and capabilities. He's got tremendous amount of sales. Since he was on this podcast, I didn't mention it because I know Randy and how well he's done in sales over his career, and obviously is a leader in his space and an expert. So I encourage folks to take advantage of the sales community. And then for those that if there's any interest, or if you know of anybody that's looking for optimizing Wi-Fi and saving ROI, reach out, www.wyebot.com. And as I mentioned, we do free trials, no obligation. And so customers can check it out. And it's a game changer and will help organizations streamline their operations.
Perfect. All right. Sounds great. All right. Tucker, over and out.